Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining me. Steve Kim is going to be here with me shortly. Awesome show planned for you today. Steve Corder from Athlon Sports, who wrote that explosive story about Deion Sanders, Colorado Buffaloes. We'll interview him and talk about that. Great sports show planned for you today. Make sure you're checking out the extra Fearless content on Blaze TV. Go to blazetv.com/fearless. Use the promo code Fearless, and you can save up to $20 on your yearly subscription. Steve Kim, welcome into the show. I want to start here, Steve. Yesterday, we heard ESPN is moving on from Samantha Ponder and from RG3.
Huh.
I think Bobby Burack had the great analysis of like, hey, this is being reported as some sort of budget move by Andrew Marchand. But Andrew Marchand is also saying, Andrew is top media sports writer. I think he works for The Athletic now. But he said they've been fired, and then he said it's in a budget move. And so he's covering his bases. He's speaking with two tongues, fired and budget moves. If it was a budget move, they would have said they've been laid off. And so Bobby Burack, who works for Outkick, made the point like 3 weeks before the NFL season and the host of NFL Countdown, Samantha Ponder, is being let go. This isn't a budget move. This is a firing, and it just happens to be a firing of someone who's been about the only woman outspoken on ESPN that's been like, hey, men shouldn't be playing women's sports. She's been fired, Samantha Ponder. This Christian woman has been fired, and it's fascinating. She just happens to be the only woman that's been outspoken on this transgender issue. And then I think Bobby alleges that, hey, like, they firing RG3 as a smokescreen. As, hey, we fired someone on the left and we fired someone on the right. Let's package it up. RG3 stunk and needed to be fired a long time ago. But Samantha Ponder is about, and last thing I'll connect this to, Steve, before you fire in. Kirk Herbstreit being outspoken the other day on the men playing women's sports issue, I think is connected to, he knew that things were going poorly with Samantha Ponder and that she was about to be fired. And he's kind of said, F it, I'm going to say what I think in a show of support for Samantha Ponder. That's me connecting the dots. Your thoughts?
Well, I think RG3 got fired for being RGs. You are cringe. I mean, just Google Robert Griffin, Griffith, and croissant. And that's just one of 1,000 things that he's just done that make you go, geesh. Now, as for Miss Ponder, look, we are less than a month away from football season, both pro and college. In fact, week 0 starts next weekend. I find this move to be bizarre, but once she made those, I don't want to say political statements. She said something that was common sense, but not part of the approved messaging of that corporation led by Disney. Did she put herself in the firing line? I think the answer is obvious. I'm a fan of hers. I think she's going to bounce back on her feet. And I think it's time for the Blaze Network to have her co-host a show with Sage Steele. I think it fits perfectly. Ebony and Ivory. Good name, huh?
That would be good. That would be interesting. Her firing just 3 weeks before the start of the NFL season seems odd, but could it also be connected to there is a certain broadcaster who wants to be paid $25 million a year, and ESPN seems determined to figure out a way to do it? And there are rumors. I hope they're untrue, but there are rumors that they're trying to figure out a way to get Stephen A. Smith on the NFL coverage. And so could this just be, we can take the $4 million or $3 million or $5 million we're paying to Samantha Ponder, pay someone else $500,000 to host the show, and then build Stephen A. Smith into our NFL coverage, that way justifying more money for a man who knows nothing about the NFL.
Well, yeah, as if we don't have enough oversaturation of Stephen A. Smith, right? That's what I was thinking this morning. You know what we don't see enough of? Stephen A. Smith. You just played ESPN capologist. I actually am now curious to know, what does Ms. Ponder make per year? Not that it's my business, but that's an interesting thing that you brought up. Maybe this is salary cap machinations, but I want to go back to the previous point that I made about political statements being allowed or disallowed. You are allowed to make political statements on ESPN if they are approved. Mina Kimes has drawn some attention for her strong support of the newest vice president nominee, Tim Walz. Well, he's on the right side of the fence over there in Bristol. Okay. Samantha Ponder said something that is polar opposite to that political party and that culture. And you see what happened. I think me and you both experienced during our days at ESPN. You had a much longer, more lucrative run than I did. I was able to get a glimpse of it from 2018 and specifically the last 5 months that I was there in 2020. So what has happened to Samantha Ponder, you can call us conspiracy theorists, but I think Bobby Burak has always had a good eye on this picture. He's always kind of been able to kind of see the trees through the forest. And the Robert Griffin III, that's a strange one, but I will say this. That particular move, I think, is being applauded by most of America.
And that's why I think they're getting announced in conjunction. And they're trying to mute the conversation about Ponder getting fired, which, if you had to predict, Steve, because they prefer to have a woman on every show. Do you think they replace Samantha Ponder with a woman? Will Elle Duncan be the host of the NFL Countdown show? Or do they put a guy in that spot? What do you think?
You know, let me just say this about Samantha Ponder. She has really grown. Years ago, when I first noticed her, was on the college football coverage. She used to be on College Game Day. Okay? And I thought she was a little bit too giggly, tried to be one of the boys. And I'm like, Samantha, you don't have to laugh at every joke. Just do your job, read off the teleprompter, your eye candy. But you know what? She has developed. She has grown. And when I think of her, I think football. She's a football broadcaster. She's earned her stripes. And I don't think, look, you can say, well, they're just there to look nice, read the teleprompter, and to hand it off. I don't think it's that simple. You still need some baseline knowledge of the sport and the league that you cover. And you know how you develop that? You actually have to cover the league over years and time. That's how you do it. I don't think it's just plug and play here in these situations, because eventually, over time, those holes of knowledge will start to show. So I don't think it's that easy just getting in another pretty face to replace Miss Ponder.
Her husband was a former NFL first-round draft pick, NFL quarterback, yes. Christian Ponder. That's for sure. I think the other thing that I've heard, and that will, I don't think this is all politically driven. I think some of this is lifestyle driven in terms of ESPN, when they start paying people seven figures, let's say they're paying Ponder between $3 and $5 million a year. ESPN, like Stephen A. Smith, this is why they're all invested in Stephen A. Smith. He's the blueprint for an ESPN employee. He'll do anything. He'll appear on every show. He'll do multiple things. I think Samantha Ponder basically only did NFL Countdown. I didn't see her as, she wasn't a Sports Center anchor. As far as I know, I don't watch a lot of ESPN, but I think she primarily or just only did NFL Countdown. And that's a disqualifying thing at ESPN now. They want everybody doing multiple things, appearing on multiple shows. And so I'm not sure. I think she's a serious wife. I think she's a serious mother. I don't think she wanted to be doing any and everything. And that might be, along with her politics, why the rubber met the road and she was dusted.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, it reminds me of that line when they asked Charles Barkley one time, "Hey, how about you going to ESPN?" And he said, "Oh, no, you're not getting me to work that hard. I ain't going through no car wash at Bristol." And also, with what she believes in, and you outlined her lifestyle, devoted wife, mother, she seems to be fairly conservative. Maybe they wanted Miss Pander, and instead they got Mrs. Ponder.
That's a good. Well, I can't be more clever than that. So
Thank
I'm
you.
not
That's what I
gonna.
do.
I'm not gonna try to. I'm
Don't
not
even.
gonna try to top that.
Don't even think
We're
about
gonna
it.
switch topics, but before I do that, Steve, I want to talk to you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Preseason football is underway, but you can also pick more or less on 2024 season stats on Prize Picks. Will Patrick Mahomes throw for more or less than 4,300 yards? My mom loves Prize Picks. She sent me some of her picks for this NFL season. She's got Myles Garrett, good pick here, mama, with more than 14 sacks. Tyreek Hill with more than 100 pass receptions. Aaron Rodgers, more than 27 passing TDs. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks, submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code FEARLESS for the first deposit match up to $100. That's code FEARLESS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Run your game. Let's circle back to my main man, Steve Kim. Steve, I got a topic for you out of Dallas involving the Cowboys. You know, Jerry Jones is in a contract dispute with C.D. Lamb. He's in a little bit of a contract tussle with Dak Prescott. But the C.D. Lamb thing has gotten a lot of attention. Jerry's said some things, gone back and forth with C.D. Lamb. Stephen A. Smith has an interesting take. He insinuates that, you know, Jerry's got a problem with his black players. Let's play the clip.
Quote, I understand completely the angst that's happening when you're anxious about something and someone says anything about whether you're missed or not. Well, CD, you're missed, okay? But you're not missed out here competing, and it doesn't put any pressure, any place on us. You see, to me, here's the story that's missing. The story is Jerry Jones. The story has become Jerry Jones for all the wrong reasons. At some point in time, we got to ask the question, why the hell is this treatment being accorded to C.D. Lamb? If it were Tony Romo, it wouldn't have happened. If it was a plethora of other players, it wouldn't have happened. Why is it guys like C.D. Lamb? Why is it guys like Ezekiel Elliott back from years ago? Why is it a Dak Prescott? Why is it guys like that? Why? Now, I'm not going to answer that question because I'm not going to act all definitive in terms of thinking I know the answer to that question. But I'll acknowledge this. It's suspicious.
I'm not going to accuse Jerry Jones of racism while I'm accusing Jerry Jones of racism. Cut it out. I mean, these guys, they don't know how to be interesting other than to say someone is racist. Your thoughts here?
Jason, I'm surprised they didn't put up that picture of Jerry Jones with the Arkansas 7. Remember that people use as evidence that somehow Jerry Jones
forgot about that.
is part of the Klan and circling him.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Jason. Mathematically, in the National Football League, in that particular league, where it is overwhelmingly black, right? And especially your elite players and certain positions are almost exclusively black. Well, when you're going to have contract disputes and negotiations, guess what? You're going to have really situations largely or the majority of the time with black players. But the last I checked, Jason, if you look at the history with the players that he mentioned, and I think C.D. Lamb's still on his first contract, all of those players got paid. In fact, you could even argue they got paid exorbitantly in terms of their position or their performance. Okay? I remember when Zeke Elliott got that big contract, everyone said, you're nuts paying a running back that much at that stage of his career. Dak Prescott's a good NFL quarterback, and me and you talked about this a couple years ago. He got pressured into giving a deal that he has not outperformed based on the playoff run. Now, Jason, let me go all the way back here. As a guy that has new, fresh gray hair, I remember this vividly. When Emmitt Smith basically outperformed his rookie contract and then it ended, it was not a holdout. People call it a holdout. No, it's called having no deal. He actually had a long, protracted battle with Jerry Jones, and he missed the first 2 weeks of the 1993 season coming off a Super Bowl. And it was the biggest story. I've read books on it by Skip Bayless, who did an excellent job detailing it. And Jimmy Johnson was really heated. I mean, he almost had a meltdown after they lost their second game. And if it wasn't for Charles Haley basically threatening to kill anybody and everybody, he may have actually held out a couple weeks longer. But once they went to 0-2, Jerry said, okay, here's your money. Do you think that was really racial, or do you think it's just business? I would like to think that Jerry Jones, based on his history and what players have said about him, a lot of them black, again, he's allowed to run his business.
I do want to that Emmitt Smith deal turned into an argument about Troy Aikman as well.
It did.
And
the quarterback.
What Aikman was getting paid. Yeah, I got it. What Aikman was getting paid. And they paid Aikman, and they lost those 2 games, and everybody's like, holy cow, Emmitt Smith is the engine that makes this go, along with this offensive line. And so, but I just don't, hey man, a billionaire, and I know the Cowboys are valuable and it's fun and all that other stuff, but you just don't get involved, and you're not as involved in professional football and basketball at that level because you hate black people and you want to just deny them money. You're making all these guys multiple millionaires, or a lot of these guys, the elite guys. And so even someone like Donald Sterling, who was an idiot, had some he still paid a bunch of people. He still had Elgin Baylor as his general manager. These guys, I can't say they're in love with paying these guys, but they certainly don't mind it, and they could do other things with their money if they didn't want to give money to black guys, but they're involved in football and basketball. They know that's where their money's going to go. It's a ridiculous, stupid argument.
Well,
Too many guys that vouch for Jerry Jones and his treatment of them after their career, when they get in trouble, the whole 9 yards. It's just a silly, stupid argument.
And Jason, based on our previous couple of minutes ago, boy, I just can't wait to have Stephen A. Smith full-time NFL coverage. Right there. If that that does not whet the appetite for the Stephen A. NFL hour, nothing will there, Whitlock.
You make an excellent point, Steve. Before we move on, I want to talk to you guys about Lumen. It's the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time, and Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, and more. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me and use Fearless to get 15% off your Lumen. That is Lumen, L-U-M as in Mary, E-N as in Nancy, .me/Fearless for 15% off. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode, and providing me with the lumen that's helping me manage my metabolic rate. Steve, I want to move on. Kendrick Perkins as a top 5 point guards of all time. It's an odd list. Someone is left out that irritates me. And, I can't tell if these guys are trolling me. I can't tell if they're serious. But let's watch Kendrick Perkins discuss the top 5 point guards of all time.
Again, if you get in your feelings, that's your personal problem. This is not your list. This is my list. Big Perk's big list of greatest point guards in NBA history.
Well, luckily, Dave and I are on the show, so we get to have a personal problem with this list. Dave, how do you feel about Perk's list?
Oh, let's start with the top of the list. I'll quibble, right? Obviously, Steph Curry is fantastic, and he should be in the conversation, but Magic has more MVPs. Magic has more championships. As you mentioned, Magic was a seminal figure in getting the NBA where it is today. And think about what he did jumping center against the Sixers as a rookie. I give the edge to Magic. The bigger problem I have is the back of the list. Where's the point guard? Where's the point guard? Where's CP3? Where's Jason Kidd, who came into the league as Ason Kidd and didn't have a J and now sits on the top 20 in all-time three-pointers made, plus was key to that championship for the Dallas Mavericks when your guy Russell Westbrook, where's the championship, or John Stockton, where's the championship on their resume? And he's number 2 all-time in assists. Come on, Perk.
They just did a top 5 point guards, and no one has said Isaiah Thomas. That's asinine to me. Asinine. Russell Westbrook in the top 5? The man has been exposed, Steve. He's a stat machine that means nothing. He's good Lord, this was a silly list. Isaiah Thomas could be I would go Magic, Steph, Isaiah, Oscar, John Stockton. Isaiah should be as high as number 3. He definitely has to be in your top 5. He can be no lower than 4.
Jason, interesting we bring this up. On Wednesday night, we had our monthly dinner at the world famous Phil Trainees in Long Beach, and part of our group was longtime LA beat writer, LA sports writing legend Doug Krikorian, and the father of Klay Thompson, but what I remember him, 2-time NBA world champion Michael Thompson. I'd like to think these two know basketball. So around dinner, I started asking these guys, what is your Mount Rushmore of the various NBA positions? Both of them said Magic's number 1. That's not a surprise. One was a teammate, one covered him. They each said Isaiah Thomas also. And Doug Krikorian said something I agree with. He's the best small player that ever has been. So whether that's under 6'1" or 5'11", whatever his real height is, inch for inch, pound for pound, Isaiah Thomas is as skillful and as good as any point guard I have ever seen. Okay, and by the way, Michael Thompson, he actually has John Stockton in his Mount Rushmore. Thinks very highly of our guy. But when I think of Isaiah Thomas, I only not think of the skills. I think of the toughness and the leadership. And I know certain people are going to put Allen Iverson above him. Allen Iverson could not play with other stars. His game was about him. Isaiah had multiple all-stars, including Joe Dumars, that he had to placate and still be the guy. And he balanced it perfectly. And Jason, I've said this before. 2 of the greatest moments or performances I've ever seen on an NBA hardwood floor were created and produced by Zeke. He scored 16 points in 94 seconds in Game 5 of the 84 playoffs. Him and Bernard King had an unbelievable duel, and he led this miraculous comeback that they ended up losing in overtime. I've never seen anything like it. He looked like an and one guy on the pavement of Rucker Park. Then, 1988, Game 6, NBA Finals, and me and Michael Thompson had a good laugh about this yesterday. In that third quarter, with one ankle, he scored 25 points and hit some of the most miraculous, unbelievable shots over Michael Cooper and nearly ruined my childhood. because Pat Riley guaranteed me a back-to-back. But you know what? We got bailed out at the end. All is good. And I'm going to end it on this. Jason, there used to be this thing, kids, called the VCR. And they used to have these things called VCR tapes. The NBA in the 80s produced this video called NBA Superstars. I ended up buying it at Suncoast Video at the shops of Montebello. And basically, they were NBA MTV-style videos of individual players. So Magic was with Janet Jackson Control. Dominic Wilkins was with Yanni. Isaiah Thomas's song was The Right Stuff by Vanessa Williams. I'm just telling you, in the summer of 88 or 89, I wore out that tape. Jason, Isaiah's splash reel and the cut-ups of his highlights, I thought were the most impressive of that whole tape. The things that he did at basically 5'11" were amazing. And in today's game, with the way they open up the floor, much like Jordan, he'd be even better.
Isaiah is a legitimate 6'1".
Okay.
He's
then that's
taller
small
than
then.
me.
6'1" is now small.
Yeah.
We're going to go with that standard. Okay.
Definitely small guy. And you know, I could even go as high as Isaiah number 2 because Steph is not a traditional
He's a combo
point
guard.
He's a combo guard, but I got no problem with Steph being number 2. He's earned it, 2 MVPs, championships, the whole 9 yards, face of the league, changed the game. I got no problem with that. But Russell Westbrook in someone's top 5. I know
kills
Kendrick
the list.
and him must be drinking buddies. Yeah, they must be drinking buddies and friends or something. I miss me with all of that. Steve, I got one final topic for you, but I want to set up the conversation by interviewing Steve Corder, the Athlon Sports guy that wrote the explosive story on Deion Sanders. I want to interview him first, then circle back to you and talk about Mike Hill, the Fox Sports broadcaster, has given Colorado a top 25 vote. And so I want to talk a little bit about Deion and Steve Corder's Athlon story. But let me talk to Steve Corder first, then I'm going to circle back to you. Before I get to Steve Corder, if you love Fearless, you're going to love our Fearless merchandise. Go to Fearless Army Shop, or fearlessarmyshop.com today to pick your Roll Call 2.0 gear, grab a t-shirt, hat, or pick up a pair of Fearless dog tags. Go to fearlessarmyshop.com today. Steve Corder next. Welcome back to Beef. As I walk you through my top 50 media beefs of all time. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity beefer. It's like, Randy, are you asleep at the wheel? Big lips are in style. I'd love to squash this beef. I mean, I was not real happy at all. I was less than thrilled. I was displeased. And now we have beef. Welcome back. Let's roll out and bring in Steve Corder from Athlon Sports. You guys remember, I think last week or maybe 10 days ago, Steve did some reporting on my main man, Deion Sanders, and where there was quoted, this is the whole thing about it's like a Grand Theft Auto video game in the Colorado Buffaloes locker room culture. Steve, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time to join me and the audience. And so don't want to keep you long, but I would like for you to reset what you reported in your article. And I want to know, are you located in Boulder? How close are you to the program? Is this firsthand knowledge? And when I mean firsthand, you're hearing directly from sources. Anyway, walk us through your reporting on the story.
Thanks for having me on, Jason. I appreciate it. This began about 4 months ago, 4 months ago. Just started looking into it. I am not in Boulder. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I also work for write for the Panthers, for Athlon. But I've been in TV broadcasting for about 25 years. So I know some people. I know how to, find out names, numbers, things like that. So just things were, I wouldn't say sketchy or anything like that. I just was wondering, why is everybody leaving? You know, are they all just not prime guys, all not good enough? And the Athletic had reported last year about some of the first year guys. And so I was just interested about how, you know, this group of transfers, this group of guys, what was going on with them. So just I have a couple people that work with me we've been doing legwork. We've been talking to people, you know, whatever we can do. Oh, we hear this. You should check with this person. You should check with that person. So yeah, it's been a couple months in the process and just trying to put that out there the best way that I thought could be put out there.
So some of it I heard and it's like, yeah, makes sense. Deion, uncontrolled environment. But some of it I also heard is like, yeah, this may be going on in other programs in terms of you got a bunch of guys, hyper masculine, young guys. They got money now, a lot of money. So the gambling and even the guys fighting each other. Guys on football teams do fight with each other. Do you think what's going on in Boulder is outside the norm, or is it just more high profile because it involves Deion?
I don't think it's outside the norm as far as some of the stuff. You know, like I said, I'm not naive to think that fighting doesn't go on, that gambling doesn't go on. But should it be? It's just because they have the money and they can, you know, do it off campus. Do whatever you want, but it just seems to me that some of that stuff on campus is just too much. That's not the place for certain things. So yeah, I'm sure certain things are going on at other colleges. We've heard about Georgia, we've heard things, and it's happened since the days of Miami. So it's not something new. But again, does that make it right? Does that make it so we should just look past it? We should act like it's not happening? That's kind of where I'm at.
Where I ended up landing is like, hey, I like the story. I'm glad he reported it because I do think it's emblematic of the sports world has married itself to gambling and the gambling companies. They've married themselves to hip hop culture. Rap music defines sports culture now. And so you've got the radical materialism of hip hop, and you point out they got the gun thing going on where it seems like a lot of these guys have guns. And look, there were guys on my college team in the 80s that had guns, but it wasn't commonplace. But here we are, that was in the 80s. Here we are, 40 years later? And the whole culture is immersed in hip hop and guns and gambling and materialism. And so I see what's going on in Colorado, and because Deion embraces the whole hip hop thing. And the thing that I was surprised that wasn't in your article, and because I think marijuana's legal in Colorado. And so I would imagine drugs and marijuana use and maybe other drugs are also probably prevalent, but maybe you didn't hear about that, or you just chose to leave it out?
Yeah, there's a lot that was left out. That's not everything that is put out there. I mean, it's to the point where you have to pick and choose what's going to go in there. There's definitely things about drinking, underage drinking, drugs. There's so much. It's again a little mind-boggling when you kind of get into it. As far as is this going on in other places? That's kind of where I've landed on it. It's hard to say that it's just here. It's just going on in Boulder. So, I'm not sure.
How much blowback, pushback have you received since publishing the article? Are your editors standing by you?
Yeah, the editors are standing by me. I've done what I needed to do. I've talked to who I needed to talk to, but there's been a lot of blowback, a lot of comments, a lot of things said. You're this, you're that, you're a Deion hater. I got nothing against Deion. I grew up watching him, was amazed by the things he did. Has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with race. It's just, this is what I found. Like, it wasn't even, I didn't even really go looking for it. It just, it just kind of happened. It was just, let me check into it. And it just, the floodgates opened. And so I thought if I didn't, then something was wrong with me, and I wouldn't be setting a good example for the two kids that I have.
Do you feel compelled or obligated to go cover a Colorado game this year and question or meet or show your face to Deion personally?
Yeah, I'm not scared to do any of that. I don't know if it will happen. Again, we saw at the press conference last week, they were softball questions, and he I would say used distraction because he doesn't want to talk about this. He doesn't want to keep this going. That's the last week has been nothing but distractions between the press conference, the talking about the press conference, the all of the commercials that are coming out, all of the things, the show on Amazon Prime. So again, maybe I'm the only one that sees this, but that's how I look at it. It looks like just diversionary tactics to me. But I would love to go out there if I could get to talk to him and ask him real questions. Absolutely. I'm 100% with this story. Again, plenty of sources to back it up. Excuse me. So yeah, that would be great.
Generally speaking, what happens, you break a story like that, and then you get flooded with even more information from other people. Is there a potential follow-up story, or are you done with this story?
No, I'm not done. I'm working on things every day. It's actually hard to do what I need to be doing, to be honest, because this has almost consumed me. But again, I think it's what needs to be told. And again, if it's going on in other places, that doesn't mean that it's okay, that we're just supposed to look the other way and act like, oh, that's fine because they're doing it here or they're doing it there or whatever reason that you want to give. So.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for making some time for us today. We appreciate it. Look forward to your additional reporting.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you.
That's Steve Corder. Appreciate you. That's Steve Corder. Now we're going to circle back to Steve Kim. Next.
I was so shocked that Royce took the stance of saying there are good chicken wings in the strip club.
This stuff is bussing respectfully. No, Kizzy.
We are so starved that, 10 years ago, people would not have taken that as an answer. But right now, they're taking that as an answer. And
Take that for data.
I don't know if the chicken wings are good in the strip club or not because I couldn't eat on the job.
Suck it, Nancy.
People are so hungry and starved for someone that they think will actually bring change or someone that they think won't cower to the establishment.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 So fly
All right, welcome back. Steve, what I wanted to pick up with you on that conversation was my point that Steve's story about Colorado and the guns, the fights, the gambling, I think it's emblematic of where college sports and sports have gone. Sports are married to the gambling apps. Sports are married to hip hop culture. And so, should we be shocked that guns, violence, disputes over gambling are involved in the Colorado locker room or locker rooms around the country, given the relationships that sports now have with gambling and hip hop? I think it's a perfect reflection of who sports have climbed into bed with fully.
It is, but Jason, it's really nothing new. If you go back all the way to the 80s, and we pointed this out a couple days ago, obviously the notorious Miami Hurricanes, they angered people to a point that Sports Illustrated literally came out with a cover saying why Miami should drop football in one of the most nonsensical columns that I've ever read. And we can go back to Nebraska. I forgot to mention them in the mid-90s. Dr. Tom Osborne, all-time great coach, got sick of losing to the Florida schools and decided that he needed to add some team speed. Well, team speed he got. That also came with some other things. And you know what happened in the 90s. And I was really disappointed that several years ago, they were planning a 30 for 30 on that era with Lawrence Phillips, the Christian Peter, and all of them. For some reason, it got shut down. And if you look at every major college football program that is one big, it comes with something. It's never really clean. We have to be honest about it. Look, in Athens, Georgia, I would like to think that Kirby Smart is a really good football coach, probably the best one in the country right now. He runs a really good football culture. But guess what? They are far from perfect. They seem to be having nightly drag races. And you want to talk about team speed, they are the fastest team in the country by far. But so I'm saying, if you want to play big-time college football, Jason, it comes at a price.
It does. And it also, someone put a price, or I hope that Mike Hill is getting paid something for Mike Hill, the Fox Sports broadcaster, is the lone voter that gave the Buffaloes a top 25 vote. 4-8, last place in the Pac-12. Now one of the top 25 teams in the country. I would love to scream that it's crazy and preposterous, but there is enough hype around Shador, Travis, Hunter, and this tackle, Jordan Seaton, they got coming in, that maybe it's a tiny bit more defensible than what I give it credit for initially. Yes? No?
Yeah, Jason, by the way, I've seen some practice footage of Jordan Seaton. He looks like a future first-round draft choice. He's a wall. I mean, he seems like a guy that's going to be able to play from day one. Here's the thing that people are overlooking. There's a natural inclination to believe that going from what was the Pac-12 to a Big 12 is going to be a steep decline in competition. Jason, I've been studying this the last couple of days and weeks, and I bought some national publications, Lindy's, Athlon's, Pick Six previews. Here's the interesting thing. None of them actually have Colorado in the first half of the Big 12, which has been expanded. Most of them have them about the 10th or the 12th best team. So these are national guys that really study this. But what people are overlooking, Jason, I actually like the Big 12. I think it's going to have some real good teams. I think Utah, well, as long as Cam Rising is upright, they're going to be good. Whittingham will not have 2 bad years in a row, and they still won 8 games. If Kansas keeps their quarterback healthy, Jalen Daniels, that guy can be in the Heisman Trophy discussion. And I love their coach, Lance Leipold. Kansas State, they have a fresh new quarterback that they think is going to be the best they've had since Michael Bishop. Arizona, even though they lost their coach, they bring back Noel Fafita and T-Mac outside. So there's some real good football teams. In UCF with Gus Malzahn as KJ Jefferson at quarterback, I think they are going to be a tough out. And then Oklahoma State, one of the most stable, overlooked, underrated programs in the country, led by the man, Mike Gundy. This is not a cakewalk. And you look at the Colorado schedule, outside of a game or two, Jason, there's not that many points where I say win and a win for sure. Look at their schedule. They play a lot of games where you say, you know what, they're probably most likely going to lose, more likely than they are going to win.
Steve, I can't top that, so I'm not going to try to top it. You've done the homework. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week. We'll play some tomorrow. And you know what? Actually, we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to play my interview with Alton Williams, Pastor Alton Williams out of Memphis. We'll play that tomorrow. See you.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free.